Hey guys, how's it going? Paul's here. So let's talk about building a Flutter app, which is student app, and also talk about some basic widgets and how to use this basic widget to build our student app we've been talking about. So the student app is just going to be of two steps, at least two or three steps. We just want to have a list of students and then display them on the screen and also show an average score of the entire student score showing on the list. So that's what we are going to do. But first, before we do anything, we are going to use our stamina. Currently, I'm using a Mac OS, so you can use your command line, and I'm sure you've installed Flutter on your Flutter SDK on your computer. If you've if you have not, you can just head over to that part and just write whatever code we'll be writing on this particular class, and it should work. So what I'm going to do is do Flutter create. So I'm going to use Flutter create. I'm going to use student app as the name of the project, and then I'm going to click enter. And you notice that I am on this part right now. Flutter Voice is actually the folder I created for these classes. So it goes in and then create this project for me as a folder, and it contains all the codes that we actually need. So for me to know if this has been created, you can just do ls, and then I'll see student app and our previous that basic project. So for me to open this, I'm going to do cd student app, and then I'm going to go to that particular folder and then do code dot, and immediately I do this and my VS code is just going to open, and you can see my code right here, my Flutter project, everything that relates to building a Flutter app. This is it. And you know that Flutter is actually a cross-platform UI toolkit that you can use to build apps for a lot of platforms like Android, iOS, Mac OS, Linux, web, and a lot of other, which might not be listed here. But most of the folders here are like explanatory. Like the Android here, it's everything that has to do with the porting that code to Android, and then running that on the Android platforms. And same thing for iOS, same thing for Linux, Mac OS, and web, also Windows. But we are not going to be focusing on any of this, Linux or Mac OS. We'll be focusing on maybe Android, iOS, and Windows. Sorry, web. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to select my Chrome browser, and then I'm just going to run this project with using F5, or I just click on this icon right here, lib main.dat, and then click on this icon debug, and immediately I click on that or click on run, you should see something like this that comes up with different buttons to it, and you can actually try them out, like clicking through and seeing what they are doing. So this is what the basic Flutter project actually gives you when you run it. It gives you a counter app, which if you click on a floating action button like this, it actually increments and do all of these things. But let's see how all of these things can be built into. We can use all of this and build our student app. But still, we're just going to look at some few things that let's say I would like to talk about, which is the popspec.tml. So you can remember on our that basic we had popspec.tml, and it's like a configuration for your project. So let's say you want to bring in some other developers code into your project. This is where you actually call that particular code, and then it will make requests to the other developers code. Maybe it's on GitHub, maybe it's on any place, maybe GitLab. You can just make a call from there. It must be that code, and then bring it to your project, and then you can be able to use that particular person's code why if you just list it here on the dependencies. So there are a lot of things here like the name, which is the name of your project, the description, which is like you describing your project, and this one is for publishers. Then this is like the version of your project, environment you're running your project on, like the SDK version. And then we have dev dependencies, which we are not going to talk about. And you can see that we have like new stuff. Like when it comes to these dependencies, we have like Flutter, SDK, pointing at Flutter. On at that basic, we did not have such dependencies with Flutter any sort. Because of this, it goes and then gets Flutter all the libraries in Flutter. It's libraries that actually makes up a framework. So it goes there, get all the libraries, like different libraries like the Material, Cupertino, all those libraries, and then bring it in. You can actually import them and start using those UI elements that are related to those libraries. So also we are using like you can see here, we are setting material design to true, and you can see we can actually use that. So there are some times you might want to use fonts on your project. This is where you actually set the font and then start to use. You see all of this in more coming class, but for this class is more basic stuff. Let's just do the basic stuff. Just know the prospect.html file is used for configurations of your project, and yeah, that's all. And then the analysis options is used for linting. Most times linting, like making your analyzer know what to do and giving your analyzer rules. So maybe you want to keep a strict coding principle on your code, and you don't want people to do some certain things like write. Maybe someone wants to write a class, want to name a class, then you start with a small letter. You on your links here, you can say, hey, anybody that does that, the code is going to show error. It's not going to show anyone, it's just error, the code won't run. All those stuff, you can do it in this analysis options. And I think I have explained some of other places. I'll just say this iOS is actually where the native iOS code is, like the Swift, Objective C. They make some configurations for iOS platforms, and same thing for Linux, Mac OS, web. Same thing. You can see that we have index.html, and then we have this manifest.json where we configure some colors and icons, and Windows, same thing. So but where we are going to be writing our code is the lib folder. So we'll be writing our code on the lib. This is where Flutter will be writing our code. So this lib folder will create any that classes here inside here, and then write our code, call it on the main, and then we should be able to run that. So the code you're seeing here is actually what is running here, this thing that is running here. But we'll just remove all of these things. Let's see if we can create something to ourselves. First, I'm going to just do this main, and main is like the entry point, which we have talked about. And then we have run app. So this run app is like attaching a widget to the UI. So let's say we have like something like this. Like this is our Android or device. Can just call this device. So immediately you call the run app. So if you do run app, and let's say run app, and then you run app, immediately call the run app, and then you have a widget. Let's say you have a widget like this, and this is a text widget, right? And then you call it, you reference it in this run app right here, and then it's going immediately you attach this widget to this run app, then it's going to be attached to the screen. It's going to get attached to the screen. So you call run app you call your widget in this run app, then it takes the widget and then display it on the device right here, and you can see that on the screen. So that's basically what run app does. It takes your widget and attach it to whatever device. You might not I might not talk about the deep parts of how it does all of those things, but just know that that's what run app does. It just takes your widget and then attach it to the UI, and that's it. So we have our run app here and also our main, which we have talked about a lot of times. And then let's say we want to create a widget now. So we say we want to create a widget. Okay, so we have some widgets. So example of such widget is text widget. So let's say hello. So example of that is text widget, and then let's say if I do this, yeah, okay, it needs some other widgets. So I'm going to attach this with a new widget. I'm going to explain what all of this is doing. Just give me some time. I'm going to reference this as home, and then I save this, and you can see that we have this white area, and then we have our text hello. So what is happening here? This material app is like a cover that has a lot of things inside. So whenever you call a material app, you're actually saying that your app needs to use the material design. Needs to have the material kind of navigation, everything related to material. It's going to use that. So what is material when it comes to material design? It's a design created by Google. So let's say I go to a new tab and say material design, and if I click this, you see that this is design.google. It's a design system created by Google. So most of the Android phones you're using, it's actually material designs. Their design patterns they are doing, or designs, the way it looks, the, let's say, different components is actually material design. It gives you that material design look. And then if we are talking about material design, then there should be another, let's say, another design, let's say for iPhone or for iOS devices, which is the Cupertino. So that's where the Cupertino comes in, Cupertino app. And you see, immediately we do this, you see we make an import. You are seeing this import right here. First, when we were using material app, it was in material. It goes in and gets the Flutter material, that which contains all the material components, all the UI component for material. And then as soon as we import, we are trying to use the Cupertino app, it goes in and then import the Cupertino, and we can use all the design related to Cupertino, all the widgets related to Cupertino. And what is a widget? I just made mention of that now. Widget is like a UI element, a being configured on a screen. So example of that is what you're seeing here. So this is a UI component. This right here, this whole thing right here, it's a UI component with this box of purple, and then it has a text in the middle, right in the center. So this is a widget. Looking at that in Flutter. So so how do you actually create this? So example of widgets are example text. You're seeing here Cupertino app. And how do you even notice this is a widget? Is for you to go inside. Let's say you click like command and then you click on it. You see that it's a class, right? And we talked about classes on our previous classes, where we talked about how you can use it to create a blueprint for something and then reuse it every time. In this case here, they are creating a class of Cupertino app and extending stateful widget. Now this is where things is getting fun. Is stateful widget and stateless widget are like two different things, but they do the same thing, right? They do the same thing of painting widget on the UI, right? And I'm going to talk more on stateless widgets. Maybe in your next classes, you we'll be looking at stateful widget, but now it's mostly stateless widget to be talking about. Let's see what text has. Okay, text has stateless widget. So this stateless widget, so for it to convert just a normal class to a widget is to extend it with any of these widgets like stateless or stateful widgets. Immediately you do that, you have converted or you've created a widget. Immediately you do this extend. So what you're actually doing is you create a class, call it text, and then you extend it with a widget, right? And then it's going to ask you to ask you to like define a build method that is going to paint whatever widget you want to paint on the UI, which I'm going to show you later. So let's try that. Let's say we want to create our own widget, our own text widget, right? So what we are going to do, let's say we are going to do class Flutter, okay, let's say voyage text. And if we do this, you see this is just a usual a normal class. And if you try to use this in here, let's say text, voice text, and then if I want to use it here, you see that is not going to work, right? It's not going to work. But if immediately I do extend stateless widget, immediately I do extend stateless widget, you see that error has gone out. Now it's on the property I'm actually adding here, but we are going to fix that. So, and you also see another new error here. What they are saying is missing concrete implementation. So there is in this stateless widget, which is an abstract class, there is a method called build. Now what this method actually do, you're going to like override it and use what this method do. It take whatever widgets that you have and then builds it on the UI. So we are going to override that whatever that was done in that widget, and that widget usually returns a new widget. It's called build, and then it has something called build context, and then we can return our own widget, which is the text widget. And in this text widget, we are going to have like a constructor here called final string, and then we are going to do something like text, and then we are going to create a constructor for that, a constructor void text, and then we're going to pass in this text, and then you can see, boom, this is gone now. So now we are going to just get this text and then paint it on the screen with using the usual Flutter text widget. So I'm going to pass this in and then save. So immediately I save this with Control S or Command S, it save, and then you can actually see it on the UI like this. You can see this is text you're seeing here, this one here, hello. So so you might be thinking on I'm running this, I just do S5 for running, and then you can use this lightning icon to hot reload, then this restart icon, then to restart. So hot reload, hot restart, and then run is, there are different things. Whenever you do an hot reload, what you're just doing is you're telling the project to just rebuild the particular screen you're on or the particular UI. So let's say I'm on this voice text, and then I click hot reload. So and I made changes to this place. Let's say plus 1 2 2 3, and then I click hot reload like this. Immediately you can see it's being painted on the screen. Hello 1 2 3 4. If you can see that thing. So that's what hot reload do. It doesn't really start from the main, but with hot restart, immediately click on hot restart, it immediately goes to the main and just run the main app all over again, and then the widgets will be painted on the screen. But run just when everything is stopped, run just picks it up and attach it, like doing it from the start. And then stop here, just stopping the whole project, not to continue running. So those are the things about widgets, how to run, and let's get into how we can actually create this student app. So the student app, these are the steps we are going to use to create it. Step one, we are going to create a class, a student class. Create a student class, and after creating a student class, create a student class and then list of students, 10 list, or let's say 5 list of students, then display on the UI. Then step 2, calculate the average score of the total students. And before this, we are going to have like create a student class with properties, with student class with properties, with prop, and then it's going to be name, age, and let's say score. So those are the properties. So let's do that. So one thing we are going to do here is to remove all of these things. We're going to remove all of these things and then create a new class called student app, and then extend this student app to stateless widgets. And then I'm going to click on this bulb right here, and then it's going to say create missing override. Immediately it does that override thing, and now I can just return material app. So this is going to give us everything we need when it comes to material design. And then we are going to pass this student app to the run app, so we can paint all of this on screen. So if I save this is what you get. I'm going to just bring this to here so we can see as we are building, right? So see this white area is what is actually running here. So the next thing we are going to do is to create a new widget as well. We create a new widget. It's going to be a stateless widget, and then we are going to do main UI, right? And then this is going to have a scaffold. I'm going to come back to that. And on this material app, we are going to attach something called home. So we are going to call this property home, and what this home does, the home is the entire screen you're seeing here, is the first page you're seeing here, and you can attach multiple pages to this material app. That's when you go into navigation, which maybe in the more classes you attend on this particular Flutter Voyage course, you are going to see where we are talking about navigations and how to use navigations with this home right here. But this home right here, just see it as the first page, what is displayed here, and then we paint the main UI to that first page. And this main UI has a build method that returns scaffold. Now this scaffold is like a home. So it holds, it's like a blueprint for a home, right? It has a lot of things like it has a body, it has an app bar, it has bottom navigation bar, all those stuff. You can actually implement it with a scaffold. So just see a scaffold like let's say, see it as an empty sheet like this, and then an empty sheet with a lot of features that you can just spin and start using. Let's say, so like this, it's an empty, then but it then has some properties. Whenever you call them, it's going to then use that properties and then do something on the screen. So example of that, let's say I remove this const, and then I do floating action button, and then do floating action button, and then I implement this. And if I save this, you can see that we have a button down here, if you can see that. So all of these things is coming from the scaffold, So one thing we are going to add to this scaffold is the app bar. We are going to add an app bar to this, and this app bar is what is actually displaying right here. It's what you're seeing here. So attaching this app bar to the scaffold gives us this, and this scaffold, you can actually create more scaffold using this particular scaffold. So just like the way when we create classes and then use it in multiple places or create different new instances of that class, same thing with UIs, widgets, same thing with widget. So just like the way we have main UI here, we can actually use main UI somewhere else. Like we can create multiple main UI. Let's say we do M1, which is for main, then we do equal to main UI, and then we can create another instance of this main UI. You see, so it's the same thing, right? And we can actually call this in here, and then yeah, it's everything you know about this stuff. We have talked about it, so it's everything you know. So what are we going to do in this case? Now we are going to create a class called students, a student class. Now we are going to do students, student, and then create. This is not a widget. Widget is different from a class. It's not like a big difference, but you actually use a class to create a widget, but just a this is like a normal class, and I'll just do so I'm going to create the properties inside of the student, which is going to be string name, and then string what else, let's say integer age, and then we are going to have a score for every student. So this score is going to be a double, right? And then we are going to create constructor for this. I'm going to create a name constructor for all of this. So this is how you actually create a name constructor, and we have talked about this. Yeah, if you have not, please just ask your question. So I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to create five items of students. Like I'm going to create it in this build right here. So I'm going in this build, which is a block of code, right? We talked about that. We can actually create something inside there. Now we are going to do students, right? And then we are going to do, this is going to be a list. So let's just do list of students, right? And then this is going to contain list of students alone. Then then we are going to do our first student. Then his name is going to be Paul, and then the age 23, and then the score 1050 plus 0.0. Then we are going to have more names, five students, and then this is going to be Chegun, and then let's say we have GD, and then we have Yusuf, and then we have Daniel, and then different age, let's say 56, 80, 12, 18, and then with different score 100, 120, 40. So let's say these two guys have the same score. So don't forget to do comma separated. That's actually how you create items in a list. So we have our items inside of a list, and now what we are going to do next is we have prepared our 5 students, and now we want to try to display that in the UI right here. So what we are going to do next is to do body. Now the body in this scaffold is what you're seeing here, the white area. Everything in this white section is actually the body. So we are going to use a layout widget called column. Now this, when I save this, you're not going to see anything painted on the screen. Is because this one is a layout widget. You can just call it like that because it's actually going to lay out it layout widgets in a certain direction. So column is to lay out widgets in a vertical direction, so it has a list, it takes a list of widgets, and that is called children. So that's how we actually call it. We don't call it list of widget, call it children. And then you can actually write something like list star, which is a widget. I'm going to tell you how this widget is being used. And then this list star has a property called title, and then this property can take a text, and then in this text we can sorry so in this text would have a poll, right? And then you can see poll right here, and then I can have another something called subtitle. Subtitle can also collect text as a widget, and then I'm going to have something like the age 50. Save that, you can see. Then I'm going to have something called trailing. Now this trailing is just as you can, like the English is actually what is going to display at the end part of this screen, in this horizontal direction. So I'm going to still use text again, and then I'm going to display the score. So let's say score 50. So we have gotten that display. Now if I copy this, right, and paste it 5 different times, you can see that we have poll, and all of this is being displayed vertically, right? And it's because of this row column, and this children is being used. We just pass it inside here. It's just the same thing when you create a list like this, and same thing here. If I hover on this, you can see that it's a list of, it takes a list of widgets. So don't get scared, it's just the same thing. So what we are going to do now is the next thing we are going to do is to convert the list of our students here into, we convert this student into a widget and then display it. So how do we do that? I'm going to remove this thing and then copy this out. Then let's say we are going to do list of widgets, right? And then I'm going to do new students widgets, or let's call it widgets, right? And then in here we can do students map. Now what this map actually does, I think we talked about this. What this map actually does is going to give you each of the value, and you can map or create a new value from this value, which is a student, from each of these value. So it map this particular list and then give you each of these value. Now you can map it to something, anything you want. You can actually turn this back to same students, and it will give you, let's say I remove this right here and do var, and then if I over on this, you can see table students. You can see that it's still giving back student, but that's not what we want. We want to convert this to a widget. So I'm going to paste, instead of doing all this stuff, I'm going to paste a widget there, which is a list style. This is a widget. If I go in here, you can see that list style extends stateless widget. That's a widget, and I'm going to do to list, right? So this to list is going to convert that iterable to a list. Then if I save this and then copy this widget, paste it in this student children here, paste it, it's going to collect it and then display. That's what you're seeing here. You're seeing all the 5 students here. But now how do we get the name? We need to get the name of each of these students and then show it right here. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to copy this tech student here, then go to this place. We want the name here. We do name, and then here we are going to do interpolation, and then do age, and then the next thing we are going to do is to do score, and then save this. Now you can see that we have Paul, Shingu, Shidi, and all the scores we have listed here. Now we are done with the first step: create students class with properties name, age, score, and list 5 list of students display on the UI. We have done with that. Now calculate the average score of the total students. So how do we actually calculate total score of a student? So what we are going to do, the calculation is simple. We are going to sum all the score, right? And then sum of all the score, divide it by the total number of students and multiply it by 100, and then that's going to give us the average. So how do we actually do that? Is for us to do the same thing we were doing here with map. So we are going to do score, score sum, and then we paste this. And now what we are going to do here is to map this to student.score. Now if I save this, like if I over on this, you can see that we have iterable.double. That means each of this score of this student, each of these students score 50, 50, 100, 120, all of that is what you can see in this. If I do to list, you see that is a list, and if I go on this, you see it's a list of double. Now the next thing we are going to do here is to do reduce. So there is something called reduce, and how reduce works is it goes in, let's say it goes in and do this plus this plus this plus this plus this, and then gives you the sum. So you can see that we have two different values here, value and element. Now these are doubles, and if I do value plus element, and then this is going to give me a single double, and that's the double. So if I convert or name this the type as double, and then print it on the UI, on the console, and immediately I print this and I bring up my integrated terminal, sorry, not my integrated terminal, my debug console. If I save this, you can see we have 620, like summing all of this, sorry, 360 by summing all of this. So now what we are going to do is for us to divide it by the number of students, the students divided by the length, and then we have gotten this 72. Now 72, then we are going to bracket this like board mass, and then do it multiply it by 100, right? And then this is going to give us the average. Correct me if I'm wrong with the average calculation. So this is how I'm actually getting the average. And if I'm wrong with the calculation, I just feel that I'm wrong because of the digit I'm actually getting. But still, let's just use this. So the next thing we are going to do is to display this average on top of the student right here, on top here. So what we are going to do is to wrap this column with a new widget called column. So we are going to wrap it with a column. So a column inside a column. So we are going to wrap this column, call this column inside the list of children here, and then you can see it's displaying. So there is a new widget we are going to call. It's called card, and then in this card it has a child. So when it comes to children, so whenever it's children, it's multiple, like it's plural, then we have child, which is like a single widget. So we are going to just pass the sum of this. We are just going to copy all of this thing right here, and then we are going to pass it here, average, and then we do string interpolation, and then save this, and immediately save this. You can see we have average 120 here. So I think my electricity is gone, so I think that is the end of this lesson. Okay, if you have any question, please just reach out and tell me your question. Just like the basic parts of everything we are doing, we're going to talk more on tonight's class. Thank you. Bye.